Welcome back to Brands Hatch. It's ThundersportGB, and it's time for the new class of 2012, the RST Motorcycle Clothing Golden Era Superbikes, a class basically for 750cc four-cylinder bikes up against 1000cc twins from the 80s and 90s. Well, in race one, number 77 got away best, Lee Revely, after taking a win on Saturday. Due to a number of fallers in Saturday's races. Unfortunately, a slightly depleted grid for this race, but we are expecting 10 or 11 new entrants coming into Donington at next round, and there is a shot of Andrew Duncan, number 44, out there on the Aprilia. Keith Smith, Mr. Potato Head, you may remember him from the Street Fighters last year. He managed to get himself a decent start up ahead of Lee Revely, the former Sound of Thunder champion. And Paul Willis, also on an Aprilia 1000, had got away well up into the top three. Wasn't long though before Lee Revely made his move past Keith Smith and took the lead. And after winning a race on Saturday by some 16 seconds, most of us expected to see him go off into the distance, but it wasn't to be. Paul Willis, number 36 on the Aprilia, was shadowing his every move. It was just a matter of time then before Paul Willis made his move for the lead as they came side by side on the start-finish straight. A beautiful sweeping move around the outside for Willis as he took the lead. With Willis and Revely both pulling away from the chasing pack, Darren Clark had moved up to third ahead of Keith Smith on his Kawasaki ZX-7R. There wasn't a lot that Revely could do about Willis out front. Willis putting in times that were consistently 3 or 4 tenths faster than Revely. And eventually, the number 36 machine went on to take the victory, the first win of the season, meaning in the first 3 races we have 3 different winners, as Keith Smith there, number 40, went across the line in the end in 4th. It was a win then for Paul Willis ahead of Lee Revely. Let's just take a quick look then at the results from that first race. Willis it was that won from Lee Revely, Darren Clark third, Keith Smith in 4th position, Richard Blunt in 5th, and Nick Williamson in 6th. And there's the podium. Let's have a quick chat then before we start race 2 with Paul Willis.
Paul Willis, first winner of the Golden Era Superbikes at ThundersportGB here at Brands Hatch. That was a close race at the end.
I don't know if it was close. I didn't know. I don't look behind, but I was just holding my own. Once I got in the lead, I had quite a bit in hand, and you know, I just rode my own race. But last lap, I made sure I didn't leave any gaps.
Is there anyone you'd like to thank?
Well, my brother Brian has helped me for probably 35 years for racing. He helps a hell of a lot, and he's always been a good man to me, and I'd like to thank him a lot, you know, for this.
Well, on to race 2, and on pole position is Lee Revely, looking for revenge over Paul Willis for that recent result. There he is, number 77, a 3 times Super Twin Sound of Thunder winner. There's number 98, Darren Clark on the Kawasaki ZX-7. Pretty cold out there, as you can see. And number 6, that's Nick Williamson on the Honda SP1. So Lee Reevely on the right then, number 77, that's Paul Willis, the winner from earlier, number 36 on the blue, Aprilia. And as they get away from the line, it looks like it's a pretty good start there from Nick Williamson on the Honda. They make their way into Paddock Hill Bend. Where's Mr. Potato Head Smithy? Keith Smith. He usually gets away from the line relatively well. He's up into third position. It's Williamson that's going to go into Druids first. Just to the right of him with the number 13 machine, that was Richard Blunt, who's out there on the Suzuki S-Rad. So a good start there. These bikes, of course, it's great to see them out there. So many of them still on the roads in Great Britain. Well, now you can come out and race them again. The years of Foggy and Russell are back. A little bit further back, that's Phil Page, number 94. On, well, I suppose it's a bronze and green or a brown and green Kawasaki ZX7, but it's Williamson on the SP1 that leads at the front. Keith Smith, Mr. Potato Head, on the Aprilia Miele has managed to move up into second position ahead of Blunt, and there is Paul Willis, the winner from earlier on. Number 8, Dave Harnett out there on that Yamaha YZF 750 is up into the top 6 or 7, but it's still Williamson that leads from Keith Smith. Blunt in third position, just ahead of Willis. And Lee Reevely's not having too much fun out there. Jason Dixon on the Suzuki S-Rad has moved up a couple of places also, so Reevely's got an awful lot of work to do here if he wants to get himself out on that podium. Williamson it is that leads. Keith Smith in second position. There's race 1 winner. We just spoke to him a little while ago. Number 70, that's Andrew Dumbill on the Aprilia Miele, a popular entry for this season's Golden Era Superbike class. But at the moment, at the front, it's a Honda that leads from an Aprilia. Williamson just smoothly making his way into clearways, and in second position there is Smithy. Willis has moved ahead of Blunt now, so he moves up to third, and Lee Reevely has moved up a couple of places also. Darren Clark there on the Kawasaki ZX7 is just in a 7th or 8th position, so a couple of places that have changed, and that line, that's that favourite line of Willis again. He goes around the outside of Keith Smith into Paddock Hill Bend, and what that does is it gives you supreme drive up Howard Hill and into Druid. So Willis looks like he wants to get a double victory here, and Smithy's lost another place as the S-Rad Suzuki of Blunt moves up ahead of Keith Smith on the Aprilia Miele. So at the front it's Williamson, from Willis then Blunt. Keith Smith has moved down a couple of places. He's just tiptoeing around at the moment. Will Williamson be able to hold on to his lead? We saw how comfortable Paul Willis looked in that race earlier on, and can Lee Reevely, back in 5th position, close in on the leading bunch? Williamson it is that leads as he clicks off another lap, and that's around about a 3 or 4 second lead now over Willis, whose lap times suggest that he might just be able to close this gap down. Keith Smith is really not having a very good day. He's dropped down a number of places, as we see Darren Clark up into the top 5 now. Smithy's moved down to 9th or 10th, so maybe some machine problems there for Smithy. I know that he was struggling with setup during Friday's practice. And look at the front now, that gap has come down considerably. Paul Willis is, well, 3 or 4 bike lengths now away from Nick Williamson, and I'm not sure if Nick runs with a pit board or not, but if he does, it'll say +0. In fact, he might not get the opportunity of going past the pit board without being overtaken, as the speed carried there from Willis around McLaren and into clearways is supreme. He's going to get on the power now and surely pull alongside. He's going to line up for that favourite move once again. No, he's going to go to the inside this time, and into Paddock Hill Bend. It is Willis that takes the lead. Rain still coming down here at Brands Hatch for the opening round of the ThundersportGB Championships. Darren Clark there has moved up ahead of Jason Dixon. Lee Reevely, meanwhile, has moved up into 3rd. He's having a bit of a lonely race, which is why we've not had a chance to see him. But will Willis now be able to break away from Nick Williamson as they make their way into Graham Hill Bend? Williamson trying to close that gap down, and it's just not working out for him at the moment. Willis is lapping around about a second quicker than anyone else on the circuit at the moment, so really is looking favourable in these wet conditions here. Of course, Donington Park will be coming up in a few weeks' time, and well, fingers crossed we get some dry weather for that one. We have new riders to welcome in the class. It's last lap time, and Paul Willis, well, he doesn't look like he's going to be losing that lead anytime soon, around about a 2 or 3 second lead. There's Darren Clark, who's in 4th position, just ahead of Jason Dixon. Up ahead of Darren and Jason is Lee Reevely, 3 times Super Twins champion. In fact, Lee had a bit of a moment in yesterday's race. He celebrated too early and lost the victory. But, well, no such luck this time as Williamson filters through some traffic. They make their way around and up to Surtees for the final time. It's going to be Willis that wins this one, is it? Because he's coming under pressure now from Williamson. They make their way into clearways, this long right-hander that's caught so many people out so far this weekend, and as they deal with the traffic, oh, and there's another high side, and another victim, and it's Nick Williamson that's fallen on the last lap, and he can't believe his luck. He's just a little bit too eager on the power, and it's a win in the end for Paul Willis. Well, I think Williamson may have thought he could win that one, and coming across the line to take 2nd position is Blunt, but he's shadowed there by Lee Reevely. So Reevely takes 3rd position, but it's another win there for Paul Willis, a double on the day. That'll close the championship right up. Paul Willis it is that wins from Richard Blunt. Lee Reevely takes 3rd, it's 4th for Darren Clark, 5th for Jason Dixon, and Dave Harnett in 6th. On the podium, there you see the lucky winner.